Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode. I'm with my boy Luis. We're back at it again. Luis, what's up, man? How you been?
I'm doing well, man. A little sad, how we finished the season, but we move, and we're starting off fresh, starting with the transfer window.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, I agree with you. First, I want to touch a point on that. Like, this is just a sad ending. You know, we were leading the race the whole year. I think it was 90% of the season. 90+% of the season, we were in first place. We had it in our hands. Let's talk about that real quick before we move on to the transfer window. Like, you know, did we bottle it? Like, a lot of fans are like, "Oh, we bottled it," and a lot of other people are like, "Hey, we're way ahead of schedule." Like, what do you think? Like, was it us bottling it, or was it just like us not being ready, to be number one?
Man, I feel like everyone always makes fun of me or every Arsenal fan because we bottled it. I honestly think we've bottled it. It's sad, man, because it was in our hands. It was ours to win, ours to lose. But then again, you have to look at it. City is literally the best team in the world currently. The fact that we were able to compete with City for majority of the season, yes, you don't get a trophy for finishing second, and it was very hard accepting the fact that it was in our hands and we let it drop. I think
Facts.
when we lost Saliba, it was huge, man, and that comes down to what we're going to talk about today, having depth in our squad, and that's what we don't have. You have to rely on someone like Holding. That I always said it. I think he's a mid-table material type of player. Yeah, he's good enough, but he's not good enough to be in those games. And it's not all down to him, Players needed to step up. They didn't. And I personally think we bottled it, man. It sucks to hear, but it is what it is. I mean, we obviously did way better than anyone was expecting. If you told me that we're going to finish second place at the beginning of the season, I would have called you crazy. Actually, no. I said at the beginning of the season we'll finish 2 or 3. For some reason, I thought we were going to finish 2 or 3.
But other people probably would have been like,
yeah.
Boy.
No, I remember I made some bets with my friends, and they laughed at me. They were like, "Bro, there's no way. The best you'll probably get is 4th or 5th." And we finished second. And yes, everyone makes fun of us because we finished second and we choked it. And I understand, but no one else challenged for City, bro. If we weren't doing that well the whole year, City would have won the league from week
February.
Yeah, dude, it would have been insane because they're so good. I mean, they did the treble. But yeah, man, I think we bottled it. What do you think?
No, I'm right there with you. Like, we have to give City their flowers, man. Like Holland breaking records, them getting the treble. They had the perfect season. But as far as the league, especially in the beginning of the season, they weren't in the best of forms. I feel like they were trying to figure out how to put Holland in the system and make it all work. And a team like us, we had to take advantage of that situation. We were 7 points clear, and in that situation we have to, and we were playing one game a week. So a lot of fans were like, "Oh, City's got to play 3 games a week. They got to play 2 games a week. We have 1 game a week, and we just got to take care of that 1 game." We even I feel like we even we could have won the Europa. I feel like we took a step back in the Europa because we were so adamant about let's just go for the league. And I think that it came back to bite us because then I see who won the Europa and I'm like, I feel like we could have won the Europa this year for sure.
And yeah, man, it sucks because like you mentioned, we only had 1 game a week, and I think at the end of the day, when the players aren't playing as much, I guess they're not getting enough touches. But man, our team, comparing to City, you have, let's just say, for example, Man City Champions League final. KDB gets injured, bro. You have Mahrez, you have Foden off the you have all these players.
Bernardo can play there.
But you bring in Foden off the bench, and we can't do that. If Odegaard gets hurt for us, we're bringing Fabio Vieira, which yes, people are like, "Oh, you paid 40 for him, bro." You pay 40 for, anyone nowadays.
You pay 40 for a mid player any day now.
Yeah, so and it's it's not the same. It's not the same. And I don't want to make excuses for the team, but we overperformed. Um, and I think if we add the right players this season, we'll do great. And I think we could challenge again. And everyone else, you can suck it, bro. You guys had all the talent. You guys were supposed to do better than all of us. You're supposed to challenge for the title.
Chelsea spending
Man
$500 million.
We had, if you guys remember Andrew, he said Spurs could challenge for the title.
Shout out Andrew.
He said we're not going to finish top 4. He said if we are, it'll be really hard. And then now he wants to give a stick for choking. Like, bro, I get it, but like you were saying we were barely going to finish top 4. We challenged, and you're what? Conference League?
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think now this is a perfect. You mentioned having the right players and pieces come in. That's a great segue for our next segment. This video, guys, we basically just want to talk about transfer windows. I want to give you guys a little bit of our viewpoint about the season and what we thought. But with that being said, we're clearly linked with Declan Rice as of today. Like the video is being made today on a Friday. We're linked with Declan Rice. It looks close, but still no. Here we go from Fabrizio.
Tap-in merchant.
I was thinking Fabio Vieira. Yeah. Tap-in merchant. What do you think about Declan Rice? Is it it looks like West Ham want 120. I think obviously we'll meet somewhere in the middle, maybe in the 105s, 110 range. What do you think? I mean, is he worth that kind of money, or is it? It may not be worth that kind of money, but we want the player. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you think about Declan Rice and the profile?
So, I think he's definitely the player that we need. I think he's a great player. He's still young. Former center back, moved to defensive mid. You're always gonna have these stories that Wenger was gonna sign them, or Wenger found him when he was like 2 years old. Like, and I guarantee you, there's probably a story out there that Wenger knew about Declan Rice when he was like young as hell.
There is, yeah.
There probably is. I don't know. I'm just saying. I probably could Google it. I could probably find something. But no, man, he's a well-rounded midfielder. Obviously, he's more defensive-minded. I think it's definitely a position that we need. Partey is a very good midfielder when healthy, and that's when if he's healthy. It's a big if, because he's hurt a lot of the time. Big games. He misses. And he's a good player, like I said, but yeah, he's
also getting up there in age, not to cut you off.
No, for sure. And I think it's definitely a position we need. As far as the price goes, dude, it's English tax, Prem tax. It's always gonna be up there, bro. It's always gonna be up there. I promise you, if he played in La Liga, it'd probably be 60, 50 the most. And just because he's from England.
Yeah.
If he had I don't even know, because for example, Moises Caicedo, they want 70, 80 for him, and he's Ecuadorian.
They said the valuation. I don't know if it was a report that said the valuation might be 120 now for. I don't know if that's a legit report.
It was crazy because when Arsenal submitted a bid for Declan Rice for 80, right, which a few days ago, or reportedly, at the end of the day, we say reportedly, we don't know,
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know, and that's why I don't like getting caught up too many. On transfers, I like it, but at the end of the day, it's damn, you're gonna get disappointed. At least as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, we get linked with everybody.
Dude, we lost Rafinha. Okay? We lost Rafinha. We lost Modric. We lost, who else? There's been so many players that we've been linked to.
Back then, Conte. We ended up with freaking, who did we end up with? Xhaka. We were linked with Van Dijk. We just get linked with some of these top players, and then we end up getting
Hey, that's
Kolasinac.
I don't fucking oh my god. Oh man, I'm not surprised. I don't want to bring Mertesacker back, bro. That's how we work, and it's disappointing as a fan. Man, but I really hope we can sign Declan Rice, man, because I think he's a really good player. He fits our profile. He's already agreed personal terms a long time ago. He loves the project.
It looks like him and Saka are
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they're always for England, when they get called up, they're always together. They're vibing. They're having a good time. Blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I think it makes no sense. People are oh, City's coming and they're gonna pick him up. All right, yeah, but what is he gonna do? Calvin Phillips got picked up for 50 or 60 mil to play in that same role. Barely gets any PT. They give that man's PT because they feel bad for him. He comes in for like 2-3 minutes and then be clapping him.
He was an English tax signing right there.
It's
quota signing right there. I feel like
bro, it's
English quota.
Bro, even like Man City had like a team of the season voting. They were voting for him for player of the season for their team. It's like, bro, are y'all just because like they feel bad and he still gets called up for the national team? That man doesn't play whatsoever.
Yo.
But I think Rice is definitely worth it. Obviously it's a little hefty, but if we can obviously raise the price up a little bit and then agree with them, I think it's mostly the structure of the payments that they want. But I mean, hopefully, man, I don't want to get too excited, man, because with us, like I'll start watching the highlights and start reminiscing when they played against us, how well they did, and then it's like for no reason, because then you can have Chelsea come out of nowhere and be like, hey, yo, well, double your wages, but.
Exactly.
But what do you think? Do you think like...
No, I rate the player. I think he's a solid player. He's young. He's 24, but he still has that veteran presence. Because I worry about that. That's like, where everyone knows like we're one of the youngest teams, but and us losing Xhaka, that's kind of our backbone right now. Like as an outsider looking in, you can kind of tell that Xhaka is like that verbal leader, that person who comes in and demands the best out of everyone. And, obviously the rumor has it that he's on his way out the door. So if that is true, if you're going to replace Xhaka, you got to have somebody that's also a leader, a presence. And, obviously Declan's their captain. He has that presence about him. He has this sense of calmness about him. And, of course, like, we know that he's not worth 120, but it's like, it's just the market right now. Everything's so inflated. Like, now you have to spend over the odds for these players. Like, I know our Pepe was our record signing not too long ago, and people slaughtered that one, and it's just like...
But what's crazy because... And it makes sense because, well, Pepe, it was... I thought at the time, I was like, it's ridiculous. You're paying that much money for a player that hasn't been Prem proven. You could do amazing in League One, quote-unquote Farmers League. But playing in the Prem, it's a whole different system, a whole different style of play, and Declan Rice has proven to do it week in and week out.
Correct.
in the Prem.
So, and in the international level too, you got to give him his
because if you think about it, Enzo Fernandez, similar type of profile player, obviously. In a way, both midfielders, he's a little more of an attacker, but they obviously use him as a defensive. I mean, they paid 120 for him as well, and he wasn't playing in a top 5 league. Exactly. He can't, he wasn't playing in a top 5 league. Yes, he won the World Cup, but he's not playing in the top 5 league, and you can see he was struggling, but they paid 120 for him. Yeah. And then Declan Rice, we're getting bashed.
Yeah. Question. Let me ask you, because that you bring on a good point. Is it that these? I mean, not to throw them under the bus, but Chelsea, United, like I saw that they showed like the top 10. I wish I had it pulled up. The top 10 record like English signings, and like majority of these signings are either at Chelsea or United. Do you think that those two clubs have inflated the market to a point where like now that if you want to, have a bargain for a player, like I think you're right. I think like they're like West Ham's probably like what, but Chelsea just paid an arm and a leg for Enzo. And you want our guy who's we believe is way better, you're going to have to pay the same money, if not more. Like, do you think that plays a part in all of this? Like, where they look around and they're like, all right, let me look at similar players around a similar age, around the similar position, about the similar role, and they decide the price point that way? And, is it where United and Chelsea are kind of messing with the market, per se? Like, and I can't just blame them. This is how the market is going. But
I think the market got this inflated. Obviously, inflation is always going to come around. People are always like, oh, we paid 5 million euros for so-and-so like 20 years ago, bro. My grandparents paid like
$3 for their house.
So like inflation is going to come and go, like it's ridiculous. Like we're talking about 100 million euros for a fucking soccer player, a football player. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy, man.
But that's
that used to be like the 1% would get that. Now it's like you got random dudes like.
Man, when Neymar signed to PSG, everyone was going crazy, and I think from that moment on, I think that was like game changing.
Yeah, kick the can down the road.
And then everyone started taxing, and I get it. I mean, players are gonna. Eventually, they're gonna do. This is nothing. Think about it. Like 10 years from now, players are gonna be worth 200-300 million.
I was gonna say I feel like Saudi Arabia is gonna have a part to play in that from the bags they're throwing at these players. As of now, I feel like they're more just targeting guys that are out of contract. But hey, who's to say? Like once they establish their league and they become a top 5 league, which the way they're spending money, it looks like they can be. I don't. It's gonna take them a while, but once they do that, who is to say that? Hey, we're gonna pay these guys like we're gonna pay these Man Cities and Arsenals 80 to 100 to get these players. Because what is that to them? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, as of now, it looks like they're just poaching guys that are out of contract. Like, I don't know if that's. I think that's gonna change the whole dynamic of everything if that happens.
It reminds me of like when the
scary.
the China the what is a league in China? What is it called? CSL, Chinese Super League. I think that's what it's called. When they first, I remember when Oscar signed and I think Ramirez signed, it was like ridiculous money, and then like you can't blame, like Oscar said, he was a really good player at Chelsea. He said, dude, this is my job. Like if you got a offer to move to another country and your family's gonna be set for life, you're not gonna tell me you're gonna do it. As much as you love your job now, if an opportunity like that comes up, yes, you're getting paid well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is a job.
Yeah.
Like
correct.
Like Jokic said, like that's his 9 to 5, but he's so good at it that like he doesn't even enjoy it. He's like parade when? Thursday? No, I want to go
home, man.
So it's similar. Like I get it, but it's gonna take a while for Saudi Arabia and I mean look at MLS now, Messi. They bring someone on, and Messi's still good, man. Messi is,
Messi was still dog. That's why I'm curious to see how crazy it's going. They're gonna have to throw like 3 or 4 bodies, like just to try to.
Dude, he just played against like Australia right now, and he was dribbling like he was, in his prime. Like
if I'm his striker, I'm like, thank God, because you're just gonna have so many opportunities from Messi attracting so much attention. It's gonna be crazy. But yeah, not to get too off topic, like I do agree, like the market has just shifted so much, and now there's some times where like, I got to give Edu props because it seems like Edu and the board is just they're calm most of the time, and sometimes they're a little too chill, a little too lax, and that can be frustrating. Like I can actually, let me ask you that, like, is it frustrating at times, like for you as an Arsenal fan, seeing how long, like, and this is like for me, I feel like a little bit of like a hypocrite per se, because I'm like, Edu's taking forever, but it's like, if it was me, like I probably would, take a little bit longer just to vet the market. But it's also 3 days into the market, like I don't know, 3 days into the transfer market.
And you know what's crazy? Everyone was cooking. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe just because of Arsenal, they just choked the league. But I feel like it's always like this. So Arsenal submitted an offer, right, for 80 for Declan Rice, and they're like, "Wow, you're lowballing. Like, what's wrong with you?" Like, they were embarrassed by the fact that they offered that low. I think right now, didn't Chelsea just offer like 60 for Caicedo or 50? No one's bashing them for that. They're literally offered less than what we offered in January for Caicedo, and no one's saying anything about it. And that's how you start.
It's a negotiation.
You're not gonna.
They value him at 120. We're valuing him at 80. And then obviously
meet halfway, like
100, right? Like
And then like it sucks because we've lost players like that a lot, and it's horrible because like it sucks because to the fact that like, dude, because you get so attached to a player, right? You get Mudryk, for example, right?
I'm still butthurt about that, and even though he's been bad,
he's like, I mean, yeah, right now he looks like to be a bust. Well, obviously he still has time, he's still young, but like for Mudryk, it literally felt like it was in our hands. It was sealed. Personal teams agreed, and I don't know where Chelsea comes in, and they're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna give you more money." And apparently, it wasn't even that much of a difference. And I don't blame the team. I don't blame it because Trossard turned out to be an amazing player.
The thing with that one though, I mean, I was watching Ben Jacobs with Curtis Shaw, and he was explaining how like the deal wasn't too different between Chelsea and Arsenal, but it was like the extra stuff that Shakhtar wanted. They wanted a friendly with either Chelsea or Arsenal, whoever signed him. They wanted the player to come out. Remember, Mudryk came out with a flag. They wanted to show him out like that. They wanted to do all these extra things, and so Arsenal was like, we're gonna move on. And so I think that's like things like that. I gotta give Arsenal a little bit of props because they don't just bow down to whoever. But in the same sentence, I can kind of agree with you. Like, we've seen so many names and links that of players that like they ended up being world class and we missed out on them because we didn't want to spend 5-10 more million dollars. And obviously it's not our money, but these guys are a billion. Our owner's a billionaire. He just won a championship with the Nuggets,
He's
the
won
Rams,
everyone,
like everyone. Like he's a billionaire, like Big B. So it's like, and also the other thing is we haven't even talked about, which we'll probably do in another video. It's like we have guys that are probably going to be outgoing. Like you got Tierney, who's probably out the door. You have Xhaka, who's out the door most likely. Like you're gonna have 50 to 60, and Balogun, if they decide to sell him, that's another 30-40 million. So it's like we have to play with that now. Before, Arsenal couldn't sell a freaking penny. Like they couldn't sell anyone for a penny. Like you had to beg teams to take our players, and now we have people. We're second in the league. Like now you have teams that are like, damn, these guys have some good athletes, some good players that we would love to have on our team, and we have to start to utilize that. And necessarily, obviously, as an Arsenal fan, you don't want to just see your team selling all these people like a Dortmund, but you got to understand, like, to get the world-class player that you want, sometimes you have to sacrifice somebody.
And one thing that I would say about that is previous Arsenal would have sold players like Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Saliba. They would have sold all those players for money, but the fact that they're able to tie them down, even if it's just 4 years,
we got to give them props for that.
Like it's a big difference, because before it would just be we'll have young talent, they'll go somewhere else for money or whatever reason, they'll be good and they'll go win stuff, and then we'll just deal with the money. At the end of the day, like you said, it's not our money. So bro, like if they're being stingy, like this is the time to spend. We gotta realize we have Champions League this year.
$159 injected.
Yeah, like we have Champions League this year, and it's gonna be hard. We've always wanted Champions League for so long. We were a consistent Champions League club. We missed out. We're finally back after 5, 6, 7 years that we haven't been in. We're finally back. We need to spend. Like, I don't care if it's 5 or 10 millions off of your evaluation. Just hit it, because we're not gonna be competing and challenging with the likes of El Neni. Shaka's out. Like, we're not gonna compete. We struggled because when Saliba got hurt, we had no other center back. We had to use Holding, right? Like I said, he's not caliber enough to be able to play in a team like Arsenal. And then you had Tomiyasu hurt, So we need to invest in a right back, center back, a midfielder or two, and like I said, a proper 9. But I don't know. Like I say, spend.
Yeah. We have to stay in the Champions League. I 100% agree with you. And then the biggest thing for me, like, I think, we were talking before, like, in our group chats. And my thing is, these past 2 years, what I've noticed, like, it's just my opinion, I could be completely wrong, is during the second half of the season, maybe around February, March, or just the second half of the season, I see these guys, and I know that our players are more quality than what they're showing at times, and I'm like, I wonder what it is. And in my opinion, it's either form or it's either tired legs. And now we have Champions League, we have our domestic cups, and I feel like we have a very small roster. Like we have a lot of guys that we sent on loan. We had a lot of guys that we got off the roster, and so I think the biggest thing for Edu and Arteta is like finding the balance between spending that big dollar for a Declan Rice, a player that's going to be like, boom, day in and day out starter, quality up top, and also finding that those players that you may get on a free, you may get super cheap from those 3 teams that just got relegated. Like, do we want anybody from there? Like, I know we're linked to one of the left backs at Leicester. It's like, I don't know, left back or right back at Leicester, and it's just like, do we even want him? Like, you can be like, oh, now a lot of people are like, I don't want him. So, but they have to find a balance between getting, adequate backups or adequate players that will, fill in when someone gets hurt, and they have to, get that Declan Rice, that Mbappe's on the market, and we're not even like, it's not even a thing. Like, people are like, Arsenal Mbappe, heck no. Like, that should be a name that we should be like, we can at least have an offer to where he has to look at us, Real, and City or whatever, right? Like, we don't even get mentioned with the likes of those people. And it's like, it just makes me sad because I know that Arsenal is such a big global brand, and why not us? Like we are London. Like London's red. Like I know it's us and Chelsea, and it's like the history and stuff, but it's like Arsenal's Arsenal. Like for us, like I view us Arsenal as like probably like a top five club in the world, and it's like for us not to even attract like a top five talent or even have a conversation with them is crazy to me, and I feel like that's something that Edu and Arteta hopefully they find a way to get that back, and also just find a way to have a mix between, like I said, those high ticket players and then those players that aren't going to cost you as much but are going to are going to come in 15, 20 million, boom, they can do a job when Saliba gets hurt or when Odegaard isn't playing well, when he has the spells where he's not playing well.
And I think we're back at that stage. Players believe that we're gonna compete. They trust Arteta. They trust the process. It's not more of like we're not a meme club anymore. We show that we can compete with the talent that we have, and we don't have flashy names. Obviously they're flashy now. Their price tags are like huge. Martinelli and Saka.
Saliba,
like these players like trust Arteta. If Arteta wants fucking, I don't know, Wilson Palacios from Honduras,
shout out.
Respectfully, I would trust my man to get whoever he wants because he's shown, at least from this season, people criticize that we got Ramsdale. Bro, you're bringing a goalie that's been in relegation his whole life. Ben White, you're paying $50 million for a right back or a center back that doesn't even get called up for the national team. You bring in Zinchenko, he's a bench warmer for Man City. He doesn't get enough PT.
Yep.
You bring in Jesus, another bench warmer that doesn't get enough PT in City. And then people criticize. They're like, they started criticizing. Who are these people? They're not good enough. You're not even gonna get top four. And then bam, they went out, they balled out, and then they're like, oh, these guys are actually good. So if Arteta wants rice, bro, give my man's rice. Like arroz. Like if he wants rice, bro, just give my man's rice. Cause look, I know it's off topic a little bit, but when Vinicius was doing horrible at Madrid, when he first got there, they wanted to loan him out. Arteta wanted him on loan. Even me,
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, even me, I was blown because I like Madrid. Obviously, I was blown. I was like, man, I don't want him. Like, what is he gonna do? He's just gonna fuck us up. Like he's gonna mess our team up. Like he's a ball hogger. He's not good enough because he will miss so many easy chances. It was ridiculous. Obviously, we didn't get him, and look at the player that he turned out to be.
Wow.
The talent ID is there. He knows what he wants, and if he wants a player which is next topic, I think Havertz.
Yeah, I literally was gonna ask you, like, what do you think? Like, is it? You just said trust your guy.
No, of course, and I'm gonna stick to that because I bashed Havertz every single time. Every time he plays for Chelsea, I'm like, bro, this guy stinks.
Basura.
Yeah, bro, like, respectfully, bro, you're a professional, and I get it, you're young, but I get it, he's not a striker. But I'm still confused on what we're using him for because he's not a real 9, and we basically already have that. Trossard, not a real 9. I mean, Jesus, not a real 9.
Yeah.
Trossard, not a real 9. And then you bring Havertz, not a real 9. So I don't know if you're trying to use the system that Pep tried to use with no 9, and clearly it didn't work. Obviously, not to the extent that now, obviously, he has a real 9 like Haaland, which is generational talent.
He won everything that he needed to win.
So playing a system like that can be effective, but sometimes you need the physical presence. People are mentioning maybe Havertz in the middle. I don't know, man. This ain't FIFA. Yeah. Like, I get, maybe he has to see something that he likes. And I think, obviously, he's still young. And the thing is, he comes from the Prem. Like, if he came back from, like, Bundesliga and he was performing like that, then yeah. But we've seen it. We've seen Chelsea. We've seen Chelsea let KDB go, Salah go, Werner go, and they find their form again.
Lukaku. To an extent.
Yeah, I don't know about Lukaku. He can bash.
Well, the first time around. because he went out, and he did his thing.
I think my man's worried about the wrong
The Stallions.
the Stallions instead of the. Anyway,
Shout out, but I agree with you. I think a lot of these Chelsea guys. So there's two sides to this. You can look at it and say, how many times do we have to go in Chelsea's recycling bin and get some of these guys? We know what happened with David Luiz and Willian, and don't get like all this PTSD that I'm getting, like goalkeeper with the check, like all these guys. Or we can also look and see, how many players have left Chelsea, like you just mentioned, and went out to be like these generational talents. If not, obviously Salah and KDB I would say they are generational talents, but we would have never known that if they wouldn't have left Chelsea. So like, it's gonna be two coins. He can either come in and do nothing and be garbage, or he can come in and like, surprise a lot of us.
And you know what's crazy? It's not even us that's just interested in Havertz. Madrid was interested in Havertz. City was interested in Havertz. Bayern was interested in Havertz. So it's not just Arsenal that's like, yo, we see something in him. Because when I remember Madrid first got linked to Havertz, I was like, bro, why? Like a few weeks before the window opened, I was like, why, bro? Like,
and we had our boy who's a Barca fan. Shout out Sam. He was like, yes.
Yeah, he was like, but I was confused. I was like, why are you like? Oh, he was excited. He was excited when Madrid backed out because he was like, he actually thinks he's good.
He could be a quality player.
He could be a good quality player.
Shout out Sam. My bad, Sam.
Yeah, because he's a Barca fan, so he was like, yo, like, I'm glad that he's not going to you guys because he's a quality player. And then that's I argued. I was like, dude, come on. Like, I've seen him miss so many chances. And now that Arsenal's involved, I'm like, damn, Arteta, you're really going to make me want to, like, find a way to suck this man's off? Like, respectfully, because, dude, I'm, like, watching his highlights. I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's not that bad.
Me too.
And I was going back and forth with my other friend, another group chat. He's a Dortmund supporter. He's probably not even watched this video, but he's a Dortmund supporter, and he's always, like, vouching for any Bundesliga player that leaves the Bundesliga and joins, like, the Prem. He's always vouching for some weird reason, and he was like, "Oh no, Havertz is good." I'm like, "Bro, he's not good," because he likes Madrid too. He's like, he's really good. I'm like, "Bro, he's ass."
I think what if we go back to where I was saying, like, just that profile of finding players, because I think we're not gonna have two starting 11s per se. I don't think, at least not this year. But you got to look at some players that are multi-positional. So, and I think that's where it confuses all of us. We're like, where is he? Where's his best position? He's played in the 9. He's played in the 10. He's played out wide. It's like,
who's he gonna bench? Martinelli?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be a starter. But then again, does Arteta spend 50 million plus to get this guy to be our backup? Like, I don't know.
So the other thing is, like, Chelsea spent like 70 for him, and then if we could get him for like 40 or 50, I wouldn't be too mad. Because in this market, dude, we're paying that for like I said, anyone.
Yeah, facts.
So I wouldn't be too mad. Obviously, paying 60 and 70, that's a little bit of a stretch. But at the end of the day, me vale, because it's not my money. But obviously, you don't want to see them pay that much.
My opinion, I think what happens is Declan goes to the 6, and then Odegaard drops. Where Xhaka played. I don't know. Well, no, Xhaka was playing our 6. So I think Odegaard drops. It was
Partey, Odegaard, and Xhaka.
I would say Odegaard would drop to the 8, and then Kai would play where Odegaard plays. I just think, I don't know. And then that would mean that either Partey would have to come off the bench or play right back. I don't know. Maybe
he wants to switch to 3 at the back and then play that double pivot.
It's gonna be interesting.
With I don't know who.
So we'll see, and it just, like you said, it's for us, like, time and time again, I've been proven wrong by Arteta. Like, I will say, like, me personally, I've been like, Arteta, what the heck? Who's this? I think the only player that I'm still like, I don't know yet was probably Fabio Vieira, and then Kiwi, like, I don't know. I think we just haven't seen enough, but I can see Kiwi being something special.
Yeah, dude. Like, when Kiwi came in the last few games, guys, we were. Well, I said just give him time. I know you were judging at first because my man's got one half.
I saw when he ducked. When he ducked the header. When he ducked the header, I was like, bruh, get this guy off the field. It was early. It was early on. So, like, you got to give people time.
I think he could be really good. I mean, he starts for his national club. He's still young. He's very good with the ball, like, at passing. And when he came in, he made Holding look like FXA player. You know, respectfully, like he
Shout
looked,
out to FXA.
he looked so much different, and he looked better.
And he looks like he. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
He looks like he can play out wide too. Like
Yeah.
not like no.
Like I think he's a perfect player to play if we were able to play at 3 at the back. You know, like City's doing. But obviously, like Gabriel, player that never lost form. He was our most consistent player
Shout
all
out
year.
Gabriel because he got a lot of flack too. Like
Yeah, and that's
he did
another
his
player,
thing.
another player that we brought from nowhere
25 mil.
for so
26
cheap,
mil.
still young, and everybody's like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Like Brazilian Gabriel, like he's not good enough. And that man is literally consistent. Like I love Saliba, and he's really good, but consistently, like I think Gabriel performed week in and week out. Obviously,
And he stayed
Saliba.
healthy.
So yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Gabriel. Let's move on. I think we're almost done with this one. I do want to ask you though, because we've been linked with this guy since January, and this is the kind of stuff that happens. We end up being linked with somebody for so long, and that eventually, the well dries up. Like, what do you think about the Moises Caicedo? It looks like some reports have it that the interests are winding down, or maybe Arsenal maybe just doesn't want to get in another bidding war with Chelsea. So it looks like Chelsea looks like the favorite to sign him. What do you think about that? Personally, like, do you think that, we should still try to bid with them, or do you think it's just like,
Oh,
let them
man.
have them, or is it sad?
So I vouched for Caicedo like before the season started.
For the
like,
World Cup.
I've been vouching out for this guy before. They were like, "Who's Caicedo?" Like, who the hell's that? And I was like, "Bro, Moises Caicedo." Like, I've always liked him, man. I think I've answered this before. If I had the choice, I know you didn't ask me, but if I had the choice between Rice and Caicedo, I've said before I'll do Caicedo, but I agree why they would.
Wow.
They would go for Rice because he has more of a physical presence. His build, and you could play the system that Arteta wants to play, or what I think he wants to play, with a physical 6 like Rice.
In English.
Because
English
Rice
quota.
Rice is like 6'1". I'm not sure how tall Caicedo is, and I know Kante's played in that position before, and he did amazing. But I think, like for example, City with Rodri. He's a physical.
Yeah, he's huge.
He's physical, So I think that's why they're leaning more towards Rice than they are with Caicedo. I would love to have both. I would. But realistically, I knew we weren't gonna get. I know they were like Caicedo, we're gonna have Caicedo in the mid, and it sounds amazing, like, but it's tough, man.
2 top center mid
Dude,
profiles in the
man.
same season with all these other teams lurking. Like, none of the English teams would have let us have it.
Nowadays, before we wouldn't be able to attract players like this in our previous seasons. Why? No Champions League. Owners didn't want to spend. We didn't have a core, and then now we finished second place. We're back in Champions League. They see the process is working, and then now these players, personal terms is never an issue. Havertz, personal terms,
real.
agreed.
Boom.
Caicedo, personal terms, agreed. Rice, personal terms, agreed. All these players are agreeing, and they're down to play. Before, it'd be like, oh, I don't know if I want to go play for them, Now, it's not even an issue. Now, it's obviously about the money, how you structure that.
The installments.
And I'm sure Chelsea is willing to pay way more than what we're going to pay, especially if we're going to sign Rice. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to lose out on someone like that. It reminds me when we lost out on Kante because of the money, obviously. And look how Kante came out to be one of the best midfielders at the time.
The thing, too, with Caicedo, I feel like with Chelsea being in this place that they are, he's going to come in and he's going to be one of their bright spots. He's going to come in and he's going to look really nice, in my opinion. And so we're going to be like, oh, man. Like, so if Rice even has, like, one bad game, I could just already tell our fan base is going to be like,
Damn.
why did we get this guy?
Dude.
We could have got... And you
Like
know what's
Mudryk?
going to happen?
Like Mudryk?
Yeah, and you also know what's going to happen. Caicedo, I don't think is going to go for the same figure that Rice is going to go for. I think Rice is going to go for a little bit more, and then people are going to be like, oh, for $20 million less, we could have got Caicedo.
Bro,
And it's always going to be something.
We're never going to win.
It's never gonna win. Yeah, if we get Caicedo, they're gonna be like, "Why didn't we get Rice?" If we get Rice, they're gonna be like, "Why didn't we get Caicedo?" If we don't get both,
But
they're gonna be like, "Why didn't you?"
You
get
know
both?
what? You know what? It's funny. Like now they're quiet. Like when they're like, "Oh, Ben White, who the hell's that? Franza, who's that? Chinchenko, who's that?" Blah. People are talking smack. Now they see that it works and they did well. They're not saying anything.
Yeah,
They're not. And maybe it happens. Maybe like Havertz comes in and becomes generational talent again. He balls out like he did in the Bundesliga.
We're eating our words,
you know. But that's a big if.
Yeah, and I think now, like you said, I think majority of the fan base is kind of in the same like spot where we're like, how many times has Arteta proven us wrong? Where we're just like, now we just trust him and see what he can do. And you got to look at it like Chelsea's in a position where they have to kind of sell players right now. And if they're valuing the player at 75, 80, what they spend on them? What they spend to get him? Like 90 plus to get Havertz? And so
yeah.
Like
I think they spent like 70, 75.
Mm-hmm. So and then it's just one of those things where, like now we can get them for a bargain. So that'll be very nice. And I think
and like I said, it's like he's played in the Prem. I mean, obviously his numbers don't like show it, but I think Arteta, Arteta could turn a good coach could turn any player around.
Yeah.
And I think if he works with him and if we actually get him, I think that maybe he turns out to be the player that he was in the Bundesliga. That's a big if, like I said, and I keep saying it. I want to be proven wrong. Yeah. I want to keep trusting Arteta.
I agree. And I think with that, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode with Luis and Mike. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what we can do or what you guys want to hear us talk about. This is Arsenal fans, so we just wanted to talk about the transfer window and what we thought. And then we'll probably do another video talking about the transfer window. And hopefully we have some signings by the next time we do another video.
For sure.
With that, we're out. Peace.
Shorty addicted to rats. Shorty addicted to me. Pop beneficial, ain't no strings attached. Got a trick up my sleeve and I do this with ease. In the world that you know, it becomes a tsunami. I'ma get it regardless and that's guaranteed.